You haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Subscribe now. We have new stories every day. Now let's go. I'm Jake, 38 years old, and I've been married to Holly, 5 years younger than me, for 13 years. Together, we had a 9-year-old son, Daniel, and lived in a cozy suburban house outside Chicago. Our block was peaceful. Neighbors were friendly, and by all accounts, we had the perfect life. But beneath that idyllic surface, tension brewed. Holly loved flirting, partying, and pushing boundaries. Holly, tossing on a new dress one Friday, Jake, can't you just lighten up? I'm not hurting anyone by dancing a little. Me, shrugging. It's not the dancing, it's the way you ignore me when guys gather around. It's embarrassing. She'd laugh it off, call me overprotective, or say she was too young to act old. We'd argue, make up, and repeat, but the arguments piled up. After a few blow-ups, including one time I actually got into a brawl at a club trying to keep guys away from her, I decided to test a theory. Would Holly behave differently if I wasn't around? Maybe she'd avoid drama if I gave her space, but I also didn't fully trust her, so I secretly asked my buddy Ray to tag along without Holly knowing his real purpose, to observe her and text me if anything happened. Me quietly to Ray, dude, I'm just curious. If I'm not there, does she really go crazy, or is it just me being paranoid? Ray, raising an eyebrow. I'll keep an eye out, but you sure about this? I nodded. It's the only way to know, I told him. So one Saturday night, Holly announced she'd be going out with some girlfriends to a downtown club. I pretended I was too tired to join. Meanwhile, Ray messaged me, I'll slip into the group. At home, I was restless, flicking through TV channels. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. It was Ray texting me photos. Holly was in them, dancing provocatively with a random guy, arms slung around his shoulders. In another shot, she was sipping a cocktail, leaning into some other man's ear, presumably whispering something. My heart sank. She'd always flirted, but did she cross a line? Then Ray sent a final text. Dude, she's staying behind after everyone left. She pretended to go, but slipped into the bathroom waiting. This is messed up. I waited for hours in a silent, seething rage. She came home at 4:00 a.m., stumbling drunk, reeking of liquor and perfume. I tried confronting her, but she was too far gone to hold a real conversation. She collapsed into bed, mumbling something about just having fun. The next day, we faced off in the kitchen. Sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating Holly's tired eyes and my clenched jaw. Me, slamming a coffee mug on the counter. You got home at 4 in the morning, hammered. You told me you'd be with friends, but you ditched them. You stayed for hours with random guys at the club. Holly shrugging, fighting a hangover. I just wanted more drinks, okay. I'm an adult, I can do what I like. Me, Ray was there. He saw you dancing, touching these strangers. That's more than just drinks. This isn't new. You always push boundaries, but last night was next level. Holly ran a hand through her messy hair, eyes defiant. Holly, look, I told you a million times. I love the thrill, the energy. It inspires me. I'm still young. Why should I act old and boring? Me, heart pounding, you're a wife, a mother. You say you love me, yet you keep humiliating me. Where does it end? She just laughed bitterly. Holly, Jake, if you're so worried about your pride, maybe you need a different wife, because I'm not changing. When I demanded she change, Holly dropped another bombshell. Let's have a free marriage. We can be together for the family, but do our own thing. Go ahead. Flirt, see other women if you want. I won't stop. I stared at her in horror. Me, you want an open marriage. That's basically telling me you'll keep hooking up with random men. Holly, rolling her eyes. I enjoyed flirting, maybe more. But it doesn't mean I don't love you. I just hate being caged. Me, that's insane. You realize this is about more than flirting. You're flat out telling me you're sleeping with them. She shrugged again, unrepentant. Fury rose within me in a moment of rage. I grabbed the glass of milk on the table and threw it at her feet. The liquid splashing across the floor. Holly gasped, stepping back, shock momentarily replacing her boldness. Holly, are you nuts? Throwing things now? Me? Voice shaking. I can't live like this. I'd rather walk away and be your doormat. We barely spoke for the next 7 days. She crashed on the couch. I avoided her as much as possible, going to work early but turning late. Our son Daniel sensed the tension, but we tried not to argue in front of him. I realized in that long, quiet week that I felt more alone with her around than if I were truly by myself. Me to myself. 13 years and I don't really know her at all. Maybe we've grown into strangers. At the end of the week, I came home early, found her in the kitchen. This isn't working, Holly. You said you won't change and I won't share my wife. We should end it before we tear each other apart. She turned to me with a resignation in her eyes. Holly, fine. I guess. There's no other way. We agreed on a divorce without dramatics, wanting to shield Daniel. We told him gently that mommy and daddy had different ideas about life, but we both loved him. Holly kept the house, my choice, so Daniel's routine wouldn't be disrupted. I moved to a nearby apartment so I could still spend time with my son. We settled finances amicably, dividing assets. She was uncharacteristically calm, as if she expected this from the start. Holly, signing papers. You'll always be Daniel's father. I don't want to cut you out of his life, okay? Sad smile, thanks, that's something. I wasn't sure if she was truly remorseful, but we managed to avoid nasty court battles. Maybe her carefree nature extended to letting me have easy custody arrangements. Daniel would stay with her, but I'd get liberal visitation. At least we can handle that part like adults, I thought. Leaving the house felt surreal. I found a modest two-bedroom, plenty for me and Daniel on weekends. I discovered a strange mix of heartbreak and relief. Heartbreak at losing the woman I once adored, relief at escaping the chaos of her endless flirting and partying. A few mutual friends told me Holly didn't regret her decision, that she was freer now, spending weekends with new men or hitting clubs. I shrugged, focusing on Daniel. Occasionally, I'd text or call her about practical matters, health insurance, school schedules. We kept it civil. Over time, the emptiness in my bed felt less biting. I realized I was no saint either. I had my own history of minor affairs, but I never intended them to break the family. Still, guilt gnawed at me. Perhaps we both contributed to the downfall. She just took it further, refusing to uphold even the facade of monogamy. Me to a close friend. I guess it's for the best. If she wants an open life, I can't be the watchman. I'd never be at peace. My friend nodded. You made the right call, he said. In the months after, I threw myself into fatherhood. Daniel visited my apartment regularly. We'd go to a ball game or watch cartoons with a pizza on Friday nights. He adapted quickly, resilient as kids often are. I told him repeatedly how much I loved him, ensuring he never felt at fault. On rare occasions, Holly and I met to discuss Daniel's future or sign leftover paperwork. She seemed the same, an unstoppable spirit, determined to enjoy life without constraints. I was calmer, maybe wiser, certainly no longer the man who'd get into a club brawl because of her flirting. I'd grown out of that drama. We parted ways, not as bitter enemies, but definitely no longer friends. I sometimes caught a pang of nostalgia when I remembered her bright laughter during our early years, but the meltdown in that final year overshadowed it all. Better to accept the past and move on, I tell myself. So that's how 13 years of marriage ended, not in a fiery explosion, but with the quiet realization that we no longer shared the same vision. She wanted a carefree, open existence while I craved stability and loyalty. In the final confrontation, my anger boiled over enough to throw milk at her feet, a childish act, maybe, but it symbolized the final straw. Now, I live in a cozy apartment, co-parent peacefully with Holly, and focus on raising Daniel. We've found a certain equilibrium. If she's out there dancing with strangers at 2 a.m., it's no longer my problem. My only regret is that we didn't realize sooner how incompatible we really were. But at least we parted before the hostility could poison our son's life. Reflecting quietly, we loved each other once, but we fell out of sync. She saw me as a boring guardian. I saw her as a reckless flirt. In the end, we accepted the truth. The door of that chapter is closed. I'm free from the exhausting duty of monitoring my own wife, and she's free to roam without guilt. Perhaps that's the only resolution for two people who wanted such different lives, and for now, that's enough. I pour my energies into fatherhood and let our dancing nights remain in the past.